Hi, I'm Daryl Nora from McCloskey International, Canadian head office and factory. I'm here with my colleague, Warren McKinley. Today we're going to walk you through on the C3 operation how to set up your machine and familiarize you with your panel. Step number one is going to be to track the machine into position. Starting from the home screen, we're going to come down on our left side and it's the L6 button, indicated by an arrow pointing down. That's going to change our screen overlay. We're now going to press the diagnostic button, which is our L5 button. On the right-hand side, R2 is going to be a little Wi-Fi tower. We're going to select that. R3 is going to be the connection of the remote to the Wi-Fi receiver. Once that's been pressed, we're going to hold the green button until we see the LEDs light up. Both directional toggles down and hold the red button until our top LED goes from red to green, which it just has there. And now our remote is linked. So from the home screen, we're going to go on down to our L3 button, which is a track. It's going to change our overlay on the right-hand side. You can see at the top we've got our R1 button is lit up as a play track, which we're going to go to that. When you start to hear the beeping, it's going to prompt us to unlock our remote. Okay, once the remote's on and you are in track mode, you're going to want to look at the remote here. There's a couple of yellow arrows and blue arrows, and those correspond to the dots that we have on our tracks. That will let you know which direction you're about to go. You can change your speed by selecting the turtle for medium speed or the rabbit for fast speed. The new C3 has 4 independent jack legs. Ideally, you'd want to have the machine on as level of the pad as you can, but the legs are there to help compensate. Once you've got your 4 pins installed, you're going to want to go ahead and lower the machine back down onto the pins to reduce the shock load in the cylinders. So now that we've got our machine tracked into place and leveled, we're going to want to go ahead and put up our rock box walls. We're going to start with the front and the rear and then lock in the sides. We're going to want to go ahead and set up our ultrasonic eye level sensor. We're going to just point it right down at the mantle at the cap. Our next step is going to be to put our feeder up into position. Our first valve handle is going to allow us to run our feeder from the transport position up into running position. The second handle in is going to allow us to raise and lower the front of our hopper. The third handle in is going to allow us to raise and lower the back of our hopper. And the fourth handle in is going to allow us to raise and lower our hopper wing plates if equipped. So now we're going to go through and do our daily pre-start maintenance checks. We're going to go ahead and double check on our coolant, make sure our level's up to par. We're going to check our clog indicator on our pilot filter. And we're also going to check our engine oil level. Oil dipstick is located right beside the red engine oil fill cap, and have a look and make sure that we do have engine oil and that it is clean and free of debris. Okay, another one of our checks is going to be to physically check the sight glass on the hydraulic tank, make sure that our level is in the sight glass. We also have our diesel tank to the right of it here, and we're just going to double check that we do have diesel in there as well. We can also check our diesel level on the panel as well. From the home screen, we're going to want to come down and press the L2 button. Once we've done that, we're just going to verify that our fuel level, which is at 83%, and we're going to verify our DEF level, which is at 85%. All right, another clog indicator is going to be right here. This is for our air filter. So as our air filter starts to restrict, you will be able to press this. A spring will release, indicating that it is too clogged and will need to be cleaned out or replaced. Okay, last but not least, we're going to open the power unit up. We're going to reveal another sight glass here, which is for our PT clutch. So we're just going to verify that our level is there as well. And our next step is going to be to put grease to our grease points. Every bank of grease points we have a blue sticker beside them indicating on how many pumps per how many working hours it's going to be required. We do use an EP2 grease, and this bank here on the main conveyor is going to be every 40 hours, is going to require 2 pumps of grease. Now we're up at our cone. We do have 1 grease point up here. This is going to require 1 pump every 8 hours. It is also an EP2 grease. It may be necessary to make some adjustments to your main conveyor belt when you're running it. In order to do so, we're going to head back to our adjustment bolts here. We're going to start with a 41 mil wrench, and we're going to crack our jam nut loose. In order to drive the belt towards me or away from me, you're going to have to drive the nut in or out. By backing the nut out counterclockwise, you're going to allow the slack on this side of the belt to drive it towards me. When you tighten it up, you're going to tighten this side of the belt and allow it to drive it to the other side of the machine. Small adjustments are recommended. If you go beyond a half of a turn, you could lose control of the belt. Once you've done and made your adjustments, it may be necessary with material going through the machine to readjust, and always make sure when you're done to retighten up your jam nut. Okay, to set our CSS for our cone, our closed side setting, we're going to go on down to L6, select this button. We're going to go over to R6 and select right here. We're going to go up to our auto 0 and hold for 3 seconds. What that's going to do is it's going to ramp the motor up, it's going to drive our cone concave liner down, and it's going to do a touch off at 40 bar. Once the panel reads the 40 bars, it will stop the cone and reverse back up to 10 mil. And then you will reset your CSS to your desired size. We're going to set our feeder speed from our home page. Down on the right bottom corner here, we have a directional pad. You can see a percentage indicating what the speed is that we're set at. We're going to go right to increase our speed, left to decrease our speed. We also have a couple other factors that may stop the feeder on you. One is that our main conveyor has a pressure transducer on it, which allows us to, as the conveyor loads up, to stop the feed so that the conveyor can clear without having to be shoveled off or anything like that. Another factor that could stop the feeder is our ultrasonic level eye sensor on the top. As the material gets closer and closer to the level eye sensor, it will also tell the feeder to stop, and then once it has lowered the level, it will continue on. The third and foremost thing is going to be our metal detector. It's on the main conveyor to protect our cone from any steel or metal pieces that could fall into the cone and cause damage. When a piece of steel does go under the metal detector, it's going to stop, and it will not start again until that piece of steel has been cleared. Another factor that may cause the feeder to stop is going to be our engine load. As you can see on the engine load gauge here, it's set at 95%. If the engine load reaches 95%, it will cause the feeder to stop until that load drops, and then it will continue on as well. Okay, in the event that we do get metal detected on our feeder belt, it's going to give us a 143 error code on our panel. It's going to be required to climb up to the feeder station, clear the debris, and there's a couple buttons up there that'll show you just that you're going to have to press to restart the machine. Okay, so once the debris is cleared, we're going to go ahead and we're going to reset the metal detector, which is going to clear the code off the panel, and we're going to press our blue restart feeder button here, and that's going to turn everything back on, and away we go again. Okay, before starting the cone, we're going to want to make sure that we get the machine up to operating temperature. Operating temperature for the cone lube system is going to be 20 degrees before the cone will start up. We can see on our main home screen here that our lube temperature is at 32. Obviously it's too hot for today, but if it was a colder day, that's what we would be looking to get to 20 degrees. When the key is applied and power is put to the panel does fire up a diesel powered heater at the back that's going to allow the lube tank to warm up. Once the lube tank reaches 20 degrees, the cone will fire. We're looking for 25 degrees after that to fire our feeder. Okay, so what we're going to do now is start up the cone. We're going to start by cranking our ignition and holding it for 10 seconds. Okay, now that our machine's reached operating temperature, we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull on the main conveyor. This is the perfect time to do your walk around and check your belt tracking. From our home screen, we're going to go down to our L4 button, select it, and we're going to come up to our R1 button, which is a green start arrow and a picture of a cone. Once you've pressed that, the machine will self-ramp up and start the cone. We're also able to turn on our feeder. We do have a small timer on the top here that starts at 120 seconds before the lube pump will engage. This is pushing fluid into our bushings on our main cone mantle. Now that we've got our main conveyor running, our cone running, and our feeder running, we're ready to put some material to the machine. Okay, there's also a couple of auxiliary functions available to you here with the machine. Comes standard on it. So we're going to go back to our home screen. We're going to come on down, press our L6 button, brings up the second index of numbers here. We're going to go to L2, which is auxiliary. On the right hand side, our layover is changed. The top R1 button is going to be for our dust suppression. R2 is going to be for our working lights. And R3 is going to be for a fuel reservoir. We're going to use a 3/4 hose to connect into here. This is our water system. We're going to ensure both ball valves are on. For the fuel, because we have a high mounted tank, we do have a lift pump available. This is what we're going to stick down into the fuel reservoir to draw the fuel up to the tank. All right, we also recommend every week that you do an auto zero on your mantle. What this is going to do is allow our CSS to calibrate, and it's going to acquire our liner wear on the screen here. So we know exactly how much liner has been worn. The reason we do this is to keep our desired CSS size the same all week, every week. So we'll bring you over to the panel here, and I'm going to start from the home screen. We're going to come down to our directional arrow that points down. That's our L6 button. We're going to go ahead and select that. And that's going to change our overlay on the right-hand side of the screen. Now there's two ways to do this. We can do a manual or an automatic. We have two functions, which is snail mode and rabbit mode. Snail mode is going to allow it to go slow. Rabbit mode will allow you to go fast. Switching over to automatic, we press the R6 button. Now our third button down, which will be our R3, is going to have a 0 with an auto underneath it. That means an automatic 0 for our liner. The reason we're doing this again is to allow the liners to touch and reopen to our desired CSS, and that's going to calculate our liner wear. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hold the button for 3 seconds. And that's going to allow us to start our calibration. All right, another function we have on here is our automatic belt tensioning system. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to open these doors up. This is going to reveal our drive belts for the cone. So this is our automatic tensioning cylinder here. It's controlled by our automatic tension valve. In the event you needed to change the pressure, which we usually set around 12 bar, there is a test point on the back here and also a relief that you can control your pressure with. We also have an accumulator installed in the system. In the event that there was a shock load with the cone, this will keep pressure on the belt and not allow any slack to come into the belt. In the event you needed to change a belt or service anything, we do have a control valve on the side that by turning it can release the pressure to allow you to change a belt. Winding it in will regain the pressure. We'd like to thank you for watching our C3 presentation on our C-Series cone crusher. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact McCloskey's directly. Thanks again.